let's get on to Tetsuo's topic here to close this out. What do you got for us tonight, Tets?
Well, and it's going to be a little bit of a shorter topic, but since we've been doing monthly modules, and especially this one that we just recently recorded, D&D, one of the things that we did for it was we all rolled our characters randomly, and as far as stats go, and then tried to base what race and class and make all our other decisions based off of these totally random rolls we did. And it got me thinking, like, because part of what we were discussing is, okay, so do we need a healer? Do we need, how much damage do we need to be doing? What about, general control? And so it got me thinking, what all of the archetypical battlefield roles that you see for RPGs, for gaming, are really necessary for a group? And I do think that this answer is going to kind of vary based off of the group you have and people's personal predilections for classes. But I was just curious what you guys thought was roles that you really need to see in a group, and what roles you guys like to do. I know for me, I am a big fan of playing tank. Whenever I try to do DPS, I still end up in the tank position. If I'm healer or control, I end up in the tank position somehow magically. So if I'm not playing tank, I have a hard time. And so I have a hard time imagining a group without a tank. I really do. Because you do need somebody there to take a lot of the enemy damage and to draw aggro and all that.
Well, Meta, you're playing Final Fantasy 14 right now. What would you say?
I'm going to tell you right now what every group needs, and is always never given recognition: damage. There's one goal at the end of every fight: to be the last guy standing. If you can't kill your opponent, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to be the last guy standing. That's just how it is.
No, you just let him get tired and go home.
You just got to play
and tank.
rope-a-dope strategy. Rope-a-dope. But, I love damage dealers mostly. I just like the idea of a character who's really good at getting in there, doing damage in it. I do like to spread out, though. I certainly love my controllers. I love characters who like battlefield control. It's very fun. I especially love in tabletop games spells that allow you to either disable an opponent, that allow you to even control them and make them fight for your side, because now that's one more body on your side that's outputting on the opponent's side. Those are always fun. I certainly love those things. But, I also kind of miss is utility characters. Characters who are less about dealing damage, taking hits, or healing, and et cetera, but they're kind of like, oh, you need this, do you? Well, I just so happen to have this in my bag, and so on and so forth. I love utility characters as well, and I love a character who can just come along and be like, here you go, here's a buff. Oh, you need to heal. I've got a small thing for that. Oh my god, you're about to die. I have to save you with this. I love that kind of stuff, so.
How balanced and neutral of you, sir.
Actually, sort of related, because it, again, depends on how much because I think, too, there's different people do different jobs, but I always love a good debuffer as well. Like, I can't play a buff to save my life, but I do love playing a good debuff character.
There's something very satisfying about slapping an opponent with a debuff and going like, LOL, now you're much easier to beat down.
No. Not a debuff. When you have, 20 on them, and then you're like, oh, here's another.
It's a little excessive.
Well, but, I mean,
Tets was the guy in Vanilla WoW that played the warrior and did nothing but stack Sunder armor.
That's exactly what he did. Gotta get that Sunder armor up, buddy. Gotta max my PvP deeps.
Alright, what about you, Mal?
As someone who enjoyed beating Final Fantasy 1 with 4 white mages,
you insane man.
Oh my god.
I don't think any class is necessary.
Did you go up the White Wizard?
Yeah.
Get that rat tail.
Oh my god.
I don't think any class is really necessary, honestly. I think any party can work, especially in a tabletop setting where you can work with the DM and reach a collaborative goal for the story.
True. Yeah. I thought we were just talking about our favorite.
Well, you said what do you think is needed, and I don't really think anything's needed.
Yeah.
I played Destiny, and they don't have a healer type, and then
That's true.
I think, well, in that case, it's this is something I should have brought up as well. Is it's going to depend on your medium as well, because if the game, if whatever game you're playing is designed around the idea that everybody can heal, or everybody's going to have debuffs, or everybody can do a little bit of everything, then I mean, it changes exactly what becomes needed, let alone what is desired.
Yeah. And that's what I meant, that it's going to be a little bit, obviously it's going to be a little bit different depending on the people you're playing with and stuff. Because, there's going to be that one guy that can rock a DPS in such a way where it plays like a tank even though it has no HP, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even like in D&D, you could have a class or like 4 fighters in a group, and the DM can work with that, and it can be fine.
Yep. Which is fantastic.
As for characters I like to play, I like Gishes, which is magic and fighting, but I think it comes from a place of what's it called? I like Jack of all trades, basically. I like a little of everything.
Mao's the
Factotum
kind of guy.
in 3.5 I love, and the Chameleon Prestige class, which being able to like swap in and out, which I really love the 5th edition Bard. They really made
my
it
least
special.
favorite class in 5e, which is weird.
That is weird.
We
Bard's
talked
really
about
nice.
that once. So. I think the Battle Bard seems more interesting. Like the War College, is it called?
Oh yeah, that would definitely be what I go with, just because I love my Gishes.
The lore one seems like completely boring.
Yeah, I mean it gives you more options
more like
with your spell list. So
too.
I mean you can take spells from more spells from other lists, which is kind of cool. And you can build different characters based on those spell selections. So a lot of variety in the Bard, which is pretty cool. And they have the best cantrip.
Meh. Oh, I'm sorry.
They have Eldritch Blast?
They could.
Gasp! Don't
Anyone
you take my
can get
Warlock
Eldritch
spell.
Blast with a feat.
What? No. It'll never.
But
be
do they
true.
get Eldritch Blast? I mean,
No,
Yes,
they get
but
to insult people with their damage
Vicious
people with their
mockery.
insults.
Vicious Mockery is one of
Yes.
the best abilities ever made.
Yeah.
I love that one.
It hurts. They insult you so well, it actually physically hurts.
Yep. Good old 4th edition Bards. That was one of his staple ability. That was the keep the enemy on the tank ability, I believe, in 40. But
I started watching Critical Role recently.
You'll see Scanlan do that a lot.
I love the Bard
That's
in
everyone's
the group
favorite
because
character.
he has to sing. Well, he has to sing. Like he sings like anytime his character does anything musical, he has. Well, the DM makes him sing for his inspiration, and if he doesn't find it amusing enough, he gives him less of an inspiration die.
It's and actually, in fairness, they talked about this later on in the series. We're kind of jumping off track here, but he actually does those songs on the spot. He doesn't have them prepped, which is bloody phenomenal.
Oh yeah, they're all improv basically. But he did a cappella and wrote for an a cappella show even. So.
Sam Regal.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with. I kind of like seeing them. Like Mal said, I don't think they're necessary in particular, unless it's like an MMO where the whole mechanics of the game are absolutely based around having a balanced set of different classes and stuff like that. I kind of like having them because I think it's just fun to like, especially in co-op games where you talk with your friends and like figure out who's going to do what, and so on and so forth. So they're fine, but I understand that people get tired of them because they're like bread and butter, tried and true in every game. Everyone always talks about tank and DPS and heals in particular. So, but I typically like playing either tanks or healers. I'm fine with either one, honestly. I don't really like playing DPS a lot of the time. In tabletop, it's fine. I'm more talking about like video games. Tabletop, I can do whatever, but in video games, I love playing tanks or healers just because they seem more interesting. It's less about like you doing your rotation over and over again.
You are a rare commodity.
Instead, you adapt not only to what the bosses do, but what your teammates have to do. I find that like a more unique style of gameplay than DPSing, where it's just more what the boss mechanics are per se. So they've always been my favorite. Like in WoW, my first character, because this is basically the only MMO I've played seriously. WoW, my first character was a rogue, and I absolutely hated it. And I started in Wrath of the Lich King just to give some framework. And I switched to Druid just because I just wasn't having fun playing the game. And like leveled the character super fast, was playing Tree Druid, had an absolute blast. This was right when the dungeon queue thing launched. So you could start queuing for dungeons instead of actually having to spam trade chat or whatever to get into a dungeon and find a bad group. So at that time, those were the ones that got dungeons quickest, and I wanted to do that. And those were good ways to level your characters without doing the same quests over and over again. So I just kind of like fell in love with healing, and then in the next expansion, Cataclysm, I played a warrior tank and had an absolute blast on that because it was, for one of the hardest specs to play in the game at that point in the time, because paladins and death knots were just better at that point at tanking. It was definitely the hardest tank and one of the hardest specs to like maximize your utility with. because you had intercept where you had to intercept from healers. It wasn't just like throwing up passive stuff and ignoring. You literally had to pay attention to the boss and what everyone was doing and your positioning and all that good stuff constantly. It was just a really fun challenge. So that's kind of where I leaned off towards them instead of just flat damage classes. There's our roles, our favorite ones.
Yep.
One could say our critical roles.
Oh my god, please, no.
Yeah, that was a reach. I'll admit that was a reach.
Yeah.
Well, I played a tank in our 5e of my GM Tets was a DPS. Meta was mostly DPS.
I was a failure.
You rolled bad. Then Mal was a DPS slash like debuffer.
No, it was mostly controller / buffer.
So when we play Pathfinder, it's gonna be interesting to see what everyone does different. Because I'll be playing DPS class. Yeah, so
I'll be playing a tank DPS hybrid, I think.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Can't
then
wait.
Maybe when Anthem comes out, we'll get back to this if there's actual roles in it when we start playing it.
Maybe.
Yep.
Maybe.
All right, this has been episode 16 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in our own video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and now Talk About Topic day by day on YouTube with the full video releasing on Fridays. Check us out on our social media. Maybe we'll get another spoiler card by the time this is up, and that would be the place to see it. We're on Facebook at P5R Podcast, twitter.com/podcast5R. YouTube, we have our own URL now where we're releasing our monthly modules. All of Mecha vs. Kaiju should be out now, and D&D will be out by the time you hear this episode, at least the first part. So look forward to that. Check out MetaStream. He's at twitch.tv/PSOFlow.
I was going to say, I've been kind of been lazy a little bit on the stream, but that's because Stormblood has taken over my life.
Why are you streaming? You're grinding, man.
Oh god, watching an MMO is like watching paint dry, dude.
Yep.
It's that is one of the few games that's really hard to stream.
Well, that's why you gotta lure them in with your like super charming personality.
My dashing good looks and my personality, exactly.
Just leave it on and just talk nonsense the whole time. Make them wonder how much eldritch horrors you've been doing.
Exactly.
I know, just talk about something completely asinine.
All right, we'll be back next week with some crab talk. Smashy, smashy, wall McWall. I have no etiquette. Yada yada.
One can only hope.
Speaking of tank DPS hybrids.
All right, see you guys next week. Bye.
Later.
See ya.